Sac-Actun Cave. In December 2004, a group of experienced divers arrived at the coast of the Mexican Yucatan to explore the Spelunking cenote, part of the Sac-Actun system, the longest underwater cave system in the world. Its tunnels and chambers stretch for more than 370 kilometers, winding in the depths underground. The divers divided into two teams. Team A, Carlos, Maria, Diego, and Sofia, was supposed to dive first and set the markers. Team B, Juan, Ana, Miguel, Rosa, and Pablo, was supposed to follow the trail and turn back at the prearranged point. On the shore, they checked their equipment under the sun: tanks, regulators, ropes, and bright cookies, small plastic markers showing the way in the cave. Everything was ready. Team A dived first. Carlos went ahead, swimming along the main guideline and attaching yellow markers at the forks. The water at first was clear, but soon began to cloud. Maria stayed close, watching his work, and Diego and Sofia made sure the group did not lose formation. At the first crossing, Carlos fixed a marker for Team B. They went further, descending to a depth of about 10 meters, gliding through narrow passages. Having set the route, they returned, surfaced easily, and removed their markers, assuming that Team B was already on the way. Then Team B entered the water. Juan swam ahead. Noticing the first marker, it was a good sign. They followed the line, lighting the darkness with their flashlights. After some time, they reached the second pointer. According to the plan, they had to turn right to exit outside, but the old marker pointed left. Juan believed it and chose the left path. Ana, Miguel, Rosa, and Pablo silently followed him. They swam another 400 meters deeper. The water became noticeably colder. Their movements lifted silt. Everything around became murky. They stopped, hearts pounding. They realized they were lost. Juan unrolled a rope and by touch began to search for the guideline, but he found only stone. They split up. Juan and Ana swam forward in search of markers. The others, Miguel, Rosa, and Pablo, stayed in place. Juan and Ana moved further. The beams of flashlights slid through the dark water. At the wrong turn, there was not a single marker, only blackness. Breathing became quicker. The air in the tanks was quickly running out. Ana's air finished. She grabbed Juan's regulator. They began to breathe alternately, convulsively, in panic. On the surface, Team A began to worry. They had waited too long. Carlos took spare tanks and together with Maria and Diego, dived again. Carlos and Diego found Juan and Ana 75 meters from the exit. They were alive, but their tanks were almost empty. Juan hoarsely said they were close, but no one appeared. Carlos and Diego swam further into the murky water. Light hardly broke through. Meanwhile, Miguel led Rosa and Pablo into a side tunnel, hoping it would lead them back. It did not. A dead end. They swam faster, in despair, raising more and more silt. Nothing could be seen. Miguel's air finished first. In panic, he tore the regulator from Rosa and began to breathe greedily. Rosa rushed to Pablo and pulled out his regulator, trying to inhale. They thrashed in the darkness, gulping water. Pablo grabbed a rope, trying to pull himself up. It snapped. Miguel clutched Rosa's gear, tangling himself. Rosa kicked Pablo, snagging his hose. They struggled, choking, until Miguel went still. Rosa again clutched Pablo, but her movements became weak. Pablo's hands went limp. The air was gone. They both sank to the bottom. Carlos and Diego continued searching and found them 300 meters from the exit. The bodies floated at the ceiling of the cave, regulators dangling. Carlos grabbed Miguel's hand. Diego took Rosa. Pablo was entangled in rope. They were pulled out slowly. The weight of the bodies dragged heavily downward. The rope stretched to the limit. On the surface, they lifted to shore. Miguel first, then Rosa, then Pablo. All three were dead. The tanks showed zero. Knox Cave. On one cold January day of the 70th year, a group of researchers gathered at the entrance to Knox Cave, located in the state of New York. Their goal was to pass through the gun barrel, a narrow tunnel in the shape of a keyhole, only 45 centimeters wide and about 18 meters long. Out of 31 participants, 19 decided to take on this challenge in order to reach the deeper halls of the cave. Among them was 14-year-old Peter, a beginner in speleology, but with a full desire to prove his courage. They made their way through the snow-covered forest. Their boots creaked on the crust until they reached the snow-covered sinkhole at the entrance. One by one, the participants descended into the darkness, where the air grew colder with every meter down. Inside, the group split. 19 people headed toward the gun barrel. Peter watched as the first participant lay on his stomach and quickly began to crawl forward. The others followed after him, some quickly, some carefully, moving forward centimeter by centimeter. Peter took a deep breath and entered the tunnel. The rough walls scratched his shoulders, sharp stones dug into his elbows and knees. He breathed in short gasps. The compressed passage pressed against him from all sides. Almost at the exit, only 2 meters from freedom, his knee slipped into a crack in the floor. He pulled, but the leg did not move. He jerked harder. It jammed deeper. Panic gripped him. He shouted, "I'm stuck." His voice trembled and echoed off the stone. The group ahead continued moving until one of the guys heard the cry. He called back asking, "What happened?" Peter explained incoherently, and everyone understood. He was blocking the tunnel. Nobody could go forward, and nobody could go back. One of the speleologists crawled up and shone a light on his leg. He tried to pull it out, but it didn't work. Peter screamed in pain, and they stopped trying. Someone began to push him from behind. Another pulled by his arms. All without result. Each jerk only wedged the knee deeper. The stone clamped him like a trap. The minutes dragged on painfully long. The cold seeped into his bones, his hands trembled. 2 comrades pressed themselves against Peter, trying to warm him, but the temperature kept dropping. The boy's voice grew weaker, his leg went numb. Outside, the remaining 12 participants waited, becoming more and more anxious. One went back inside to check, and saw it. Peter was stuck. 18 people behind him also could not get out. He climbed back out and called for help. By evening, police and firefighters had arrived at the cave. They brought ropes and tools. The rescuers made their way to the narrow tunnel and shone a light on Peter. They tried to pull out his leg, prying the stone with crowbars. Hours passed without success. Peter, exhausted and frightened, began to rave. He screamed that a snake had bitten him. The cold worsened everyone's condition. Closer to night, a thermos with soapy water was passed down the line. One of the participants poured it into the gap around the knee. The firefighters tied a rope to his ankle. 2 inside began carefully pushing his body, while rescuers outside pulled slowly and evenly. The knee began to move, and with a sharp snap, it slipped free. Peter was carefully pulled out. His leg was badly bruised and, as it turned out later, broken. The others got out one by one, exhausted but alive. The rescuers lifted Peter to the surface, provided first aid for hypothermia, and sent him to the hospital. Within a few days, he fully recovered. Thank you for watching, and good luck.